My dear sisters and brothers, before Allah ever places a gift in your hands, He often places a weight on your heart. And many times we misunderstand that weight. We think it is a sign of rejection, a delay, or even punishment. But what if I told you that the moments you are barely surviving, the nights you cry in sujood without words, the days when everything feels uncertain, those are not signs that Allah has forgotten you. Those are signs that something is being prepared. Allah does not bless carelessly. When He intends something big for a servant, He reshapes them first. He tests their patience, not to break them, but to empty them. Empty of arrogance, empty of dependence on people, empty of the illusion of control. He brings you to places where your plans fail so that His plan can take over. And it hurts because transformation is never comfortable. But every test carries a divine purpose, even when you cannot see it yet. So if your life feels heavy right now, if doors are closing and your heart feels tired, pause before you despair. Ask yourself, what is Allah teaching me here? Because the tests that come before the blessing are not random. They are invitations to grow closer, to trust deeper, to surrender fully. And when you finally receive what Allah has been preparing you for, you will realize that the greatest gift was not just the blessing itself, but the person you became along the way. There are moments in life when everything feels heavier than it should, when your heart carries a quiet ache, and you cannot quite explain why. You are praying, you are trying, you are holding on, yet the ease you expected does not arrive. In those moments, many people begin to question their worth, their faith, even their relationship with Allah. But Allah, in His infinite wisdom, does not rush His gifts. When He intends to elevate a servant, He begins by preparing the heart, because a heart that is not ready can be harmed by the very blessing it desires. Tests are not sent to push you away. They are sent to shape you, to make room within you for what is coming. Allah knows the capacity of your soul better than you know it yourself. He knows what you ask for, and He also knows what that request will require from you. A greater blessing demands a stronger heart, a deeper reliance, a more sincere connection. So before Allah opens the door, He strengthens the hinges. Before He expands your provision, He teaches you patience. Before He grants you honor, He humbles you. And often this preparation comes wrapped in difficulty, because ease does not reveal what is hidden inside us, but hardship does. When a test enters your life, it strips away your illusions. You begin to see how fragile your plans are, how limited your control has always been. You realize that the people you leaned on cannot always carry you, that the strategies you trusted can fall apart overnight. This is not meant to frighten you, it is meant to redirect you. Allah gently and sometimes painfully removes the false support so that your heart learns where true security lies. And once your reliance becomes sincere, once your heart turns fully toward Him, it becomes capable of receiving what once would have overwhelmed it. Tests also refine intention. Many of us ask Allah for things while still attached to outcomes, recognition, or comfort. We want the blessing, but we are not always ready for the responsibility that comes with it. So Allah places you in situations where your intentions are purified. You learn to worship without seeing immediate results. You learn to obey even when your nafs resists. You learn to choose Allah when choosing Him costs you something. And slowly, without realizing it, your heart becomes more sincere, more grounded, more aligned with the purpose for which you were created. There is a tenderness in how Allah tests His servants. Even when the pain feels sharp, it is measured. Even when the weight feels endless, it is intentional. Allah does not overwhelm a soul beyond what it can bear, but He does stretch it. He stretches your patience so that it becomes expansive. He stretches your trust so that it becomes firm. He stretches your dua so that it becomes constant, no longer tied only to moments of need, but woven into every breath of your life. Sometimes the test is loss, and sometimes it is delay. Sometimes it is loneliness, and sometimes it is confusion. Each test speaks to a specific place in your heart that needs healing or strengthening. If you are someone who relied too much on people, Allah may teach you solitude. If you were attached to comfort, Allah may introduce discomfort. If you were confident in your own strength, Allah may show you your weakness. None of this is to diminish you. It is to realign you, to return you to a state where your heart is soft enough to receive divine mercy without arrogance and strong enough to carry divine gifts without fear. In these seasons of testing, it is easy to compare yourself to others. You see people receiving what you have been praying for, and Shaitan whispers that you have been overlooked. But Allah's timing is personal. What would strengthen one person might break another. What arrives as a blessing for someone else might arrive as a test for you if you are not ready. So Allah withholds, not out of stinginess, but out of mercy. He delays, not to punish, but to protect. And every delay carries within it a lesson meant specifically for you. The calm that eventually settles in the heart of a tested believer is not accidental. It is earned through surrender. When you stop fighting the test and start asking what it is teaching you, something shifts inside. Your prayers become quieter, deeper. Your trust becomes steadier. You begin to understand that Allah is not asking you to figure everything out, only to remain connected while you walk through the unknown. And that connection becomes the very thing that sustains you when nothing else does. Before Allah blesses you in a way that changes your life, He blesses you with awareness. Awareness of your need for Him, awareness of your own limits, awareness of the fleeting nature of the dunya. Tests awaken the heart from heedlessness. They pull you out of routine worship and into sincere dependence. They teach you the language of tears in sujud, the strength found in silent patience, the comfort of knowing that Allah sees what no one else sees. When you look back at the most transformative periods of your life, you will often find that they began with difficulty. The strength you carry now was born from moments when you thought you would break. The wisdom you speak now was shaped by experiences you once wished away. Allah does not waste pain. Every tear is counted, every sleepless night is recorded, every act of patience is preserved. And when the blessing finally arrives, it comes with a depth of gratitude that could never have existed without the test that came before it. There is a reason Allah mentions patience alongside prayer. Patience is not passive waiting. It is active trust. It is choosing to remain upright even when answers are delayed. It is continuing to believe in Allah's goodness even when circumstances feel heavy. And through patience, your heart becomes anchored. It no longer rises and falls with every change in the dunya. It learns steadiness, a quiet resilience rooted in faith rather than outcomes. So when tests come, allow yourself to feel, but do not allow yourself to despair. Speak to Allah honestly. Sit with the discomfort without letting it harden you. Let the test soften you instead. Let it bring you closer, strip you of what you no longer need, and prepare you for what is meant to stay. Because when Allah finally opens the door you have been standing before, you will step through it as someone stronger, humbler, and more deeply connected than you ever were before, carrying a heart that knows that every test was a preparation, every delay was a mercy, and every moment of patience was shaping you for something far greater than you once imagined. There is a kind of heaviness that settles quietly into the heart, not loud enough for others to notice, but constant enough that you feel it in everything you do. You wake up carrying it, you move through your day with it, and at night it sits beside you in silence. Many people assume that this heaviness means something is wrong with them, that they are being punished, that Allah is displeased. But this weight is often not a sign of rejection. It is a sign of change. When Allah is about to shift something deeply within you, the first thing you feel is pressure, because growth always begins with strain. Transformation is rarely dramatic. It does not arrive with announcements or clear explanations. It begins quietly, through discomfort that does not have a name. You find yourself questioning things you once accepted easily. You feel detached from what used to satisfy you. You are tired, but not just physically. This tiredness reaches your soul, and while it feels unsettling, it is often Allah gently loosening your grip on what no longer serves you, preparing you to receive something that requires a different version of you. Many of us want blessings to arrive without changing us. We ask Allah to improve our circumstances while leaving our hearts untouched. But Allah's mercy is deeper than that. He cares not only about what you hold in your hands, but about who you become while holding it. So before He elevates your situation, He reshapes your inner world. The heaviness you feel is part of that reshaping. It is Allah teaching you how to carry more without being consumed by it. This process often feels lonely. People around you may not understand why you have grown quieter, why your laughter sounds softer, why your heart feels more guarded. You may feel disconnected even in familiar spaces. But this loneliness is not abandonment. It is space. Space for reflection, space for sincerity, space for a deeper connection with Allah that is not diluted by constant noise. In that space, your heart begins to speak more honestly, and your dua becomes less about what you want and more about who you are becoming. There is a subtle mercy in heaviness. It slows you down. It forces you to pay attention. It makes you confront parts of yourself you may have ignored for years. Old wounds resurface. Hidden fears come to light. Weaknesses you masked with confidence become visible. And while this exposure feels uncomfortable, it is necessary. Allah cannot heal what you refuse to acknowledge. So He brings it to the surface, not to shame you, but to free you. Many people try to escape this phase. They distract themselves, numb themselves, rush themselves. They assume the goal is to feel light again as quickly as possible. But the goal is not speed. The goal is depth. Allah is not in a hurry with your heart. He allows you to sit with the heaviness until you learn what it has come to teach you. Until you stop resisting it and start listening to it. Because once you understand it, it begins to lift on its own. In this phase, your relationship with Allah often changes. Your prayers become quieter, less rushed. You may not have many words, but your presence becomes more sincere. You sit in sujud longer, not because you are asking for something specific, but because you do not want to leave. You find comfort in simply being seen by Allah, known by Him, held by Him, and that intimacy becomes the foundation for what comes next. Heaviness also teaches you boundaries. You begin to realize how much energy you spent pleasing others, explaining yourself, carrying expectations that were never yours to hold. When your heart feels tired, it no longer has the capacity for unnecessary burdens. So you start letting go. You stop overextending. You choose silence over argument. You protect your peace, not out of selfishness, but out of survival. And in doing so, you create space for what truly matters. There is a humility that comes with this stage. You realize how little control you actually have, how fragile your plans are, how dependent you have always been on Allah, even when you thought you were managing on your own. This realization does not weaken you, it grounds you. It shifts your confidence from your abilities to Allah's mercy. And that shift is essential because blessings built on self-reliance often collapse, while blessings built on trust endure. The heaviness you feel is often a sign that your heart is being softened. Hard hearts do not feel this weight. Distracted hearts do not pause long enough to notice it. But a heart that Allah is working on becomes sensitive. It feels deeply. It responds quickly. It aches when something is misaligned. And while sensitivity can feel like a burden in a harsh world, it is also a gift. It makes your faith more real, your compassion deeper, your connection to Allah more alive. During this time, answers may not come clearly. You may pray and feel unheard. You may seek clarity and feel confused. But confusion is not the absence of guidance. Sometimes it is the space where guidance is forming. Allah does not always reveal the full picture at once. He teaches you to walk with trust instead of certainty, to move forward without seeing the entire path. And that kind of faith is rare. It is built only through moments where you have no choice but to rely on Him. You may notice that certain desires begin to fade. Things you once wanted desperately no longer feel urgent, not because you have given up, but because your heart has matured. You begin to want what brings closeness to Allah more than what brings temporary relief. This shift is subtle but powerful. It marks the moment where your priorities begin to align with your purpose, where your heart starts choosing depth over distraction. Heaviness also teaches gratitude in a different way, not the loud gratitude of celebration, but the quiet gratitude of awareness. You begin to notice small mercies, a calm moment, a gentle reminder, a verse that settles your heart, a prayer that feels sincere. These moments become anchors. They remind you that even in difficulty, Allah's care surrounds you, and that awareness strengthens you more than ease ever could. As this phase continues, something within you stabilizes. The weight does not disappear suddenly, but it becomes easier to carry. Your heart grows stronger, more resilient. You stop fighting the process and start trusting it. You accept that this is not a detour, but part of the journey. That Allah is not delaying you, but developing you. And that realization brings a quiet peace that does not depend on circumstances. The blessing that follows this stage is often misunderstood. It may not arrive in the form you expected. It may not look like what you prayed for years ago, but it will fit the person you have become. It will sit gently in your life, not disruptively. It will not overwhelm your heart, because your heart has been expanded to receive it. And when it arrives, you will recognize that the heaviness was not an obstacle, but an invitation to grow into someone capable of holding it with gratitude, humility, and trust.